Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Draft Day Sports College Basketball. This is episode 50, half century mark already in this series. But we've climbed a lot of tiers in Conference P right now. After starting 5-3, I was a little worried about losing a couple more games as we had a really difficult non-conference road schedule. We ended up pulling off a couple wins. We're 8-3. Net rank has jumped back into the top 50 following that, and we're looking good entering conference play. Now, I had a couple of close comparison amongst players that I really tried to split some minutes to see how they would do. Well, the first of those was Booker Seabrooks, who we brought in as a replacement point guard, and McMillian, who was the backup. And McMillian gets a starting job, but I equalized their minutes, and you can see how close they have been at 18.5 minutes per game. And you can see they're both making the same number of field goals, though McMillian is taking more chances to get those makes, partially because he's attempting more threes, but Seabrooks converting more of the attempted threes. So you could see just kind of overall how similar those two are. Free throws, Seabrooks gets to the line definitely more often, but McMillian converts at a better rate. So same sort of scenario. Seabrooks a little better at grabbing rebounds with almost one more per game, and slightly better on the assists, but again, pretty similar. Now Seabrooks I think is the better individual defender, but McMillian creates more turnovers and blocks, and you can see how he is slightly higher in that. In terms of turnovers, they nearly take care of the ball at the same rate, and same with fouls. So for now, you seem to be getting the same out of the two players. It keeps them out of foul trouble, keeps them fresh, and we're getting ultimately kind of the same sort of results. How you look at it, it's half a dozen of this and 6 of the other. So I think I'm content with keeping those guys locked in the way they are for now, splitting their time. Amongst the shooters, Houston is shooting terribly this season. Unfortunately, he's also taking the most attempts. That's not helping us very much offensively, but overall at 78 points a game, I think our offense is stronger than what we had a year ago. Defensively, 67 points a game. We're plus 11 from the non-conference schedule. Assists are right about where we were a year ago as a team, and rebounds are also where we were a year ago. So I think, even though we've seen a bit of a drop-off at point guard, and Houston's not playing particularly well, Evans has been good. We're good at the post. Hyde has progressed to a point where he's a very strong player right now. He's our leading scorer. You can see those 4 primary starters are all between 8 and 10 points a game. And then, you're splitting these two, which actually their share is 12 points a game. But of course, this isn't their share. Alexander has been excellent off the bench. Absolutely excellent. He is shooting 55% from the field. He's doing okay from 3. He's certainly not terrible from the free throw line. And he's getting a decent amount of rebounds, but he's getting almost the same minutes as the other two. Now, after that, what do we have? Because there was the other comparison, and that was Cooper and Purvis. Are either of them doing well? Well, field goal wise, they're doing fine. Purvis is actually shooting threes well and shooting free throws well. But in terms of rebounds, it's all Cooper over Purvis. Cooper has been picking up the bulk of the minutes when somebody's getting into foul trouble. And that's definitely a factor. I think we can't bump up Alexander to crazy amounts, as the likely outcome there is, the foul trouble. The foul trouble being a big concern. Cooper not committing fouls, so he's doing good in that department. Neither one committing a lot of turnovers, though Purvis had a higher rate considering the minutes. Purvis is definitely the better scorer compared to Cooper. I mean, that much is pretty clear. But otherwise, the numbers are similar. And Purvis is the better defender compared to Cooper. So I think the reality is that Purvis is better than Cooper. I think we have to kind of just admit that Purvis, even though he was lower rated, it looked like he was better, and he's done more in half the time. So I think that means we really need to shift things a little bit towards Purvis, away from Cooper, and towards Alexander a little bit. So like Alexander can pick up a couple there, and I think he can pick up one there, and then we'll give Purvis the time away from Cooper, and Cooper's just not going to get the time anymore. We'll give him the garbage time, I suppose. So our first conference game is against Robert Morris, and we are now, like I said, 8-3. They did not have a great off season, non-conference season, that is. But you can see just how much stronger we are on paper. Almost 75% chance on the win. Everything but point guard is advantage us. Their best player, Ted Bellin, is still advantage us, with our true freshman Albert Evans being that much better than him. And that really goes to show just where we stand. Points per game, plus 12. Points against, plus 5. Plus 6 even. So we're really looking much stronger. Field goal percentage is similar. 3-point percentage is similar. Free throws only slightly our advantage. But we offensively, defensively, just get a lot more done on the court. Assists advantage us. Rebounds advantage us, plus 5. Blocks plus 3. Steals plus 3. And turnovers 7 to the good. So we should be cruising through much of our conference schedule, but that of course largely depends on the opponents and who we play on the road. Following the non-conference portion of the schedule, here is how the league is looking. Wow, words difficult for me at the moment. Northern Illinois and Wisconsin-Milwaukee are just 3-8 overall, very low with their net ranking, though noticeably everybody is above that 300 mark. So we've definitely climbed out of the cellar of teams. 4-7. I mean, 3-8 is the worst, right? Nobody's going 1-10 or anything like that. It's all competitive teams, just not very good. 3-8, 4-7 makes up almost half the league. 5-6 by then exceeds half the league. Alabama State had an extra game in there. They are 6-6 overall and 3-1 at home. Look at them as a potential upset who's going to slot in a little bit higher based on just a few home games and fairly decent net. Robert Morris looks fairly good, but they were 3-0 at home, so I'm guessing they probably got a win against a pretty decent side that boosted their net a bit. They're really only 2-6 on the road, so I think Robert Morris is more likely to fall off than, say, Alabama State is, but I don't know who those opponents were, and that is a pretty big factor. Dartmouth, same sort of thing, perfect at home, okay-ish on the road. Presbyterian's been good at home, and they've got a good net. They look like a contender, which they were last year, so same with Northern Kentucky. So, we're looking at the same teams that came up with us right near the top of the league, plus now being joined by Arkansas Little Rock. So over the last couple of seasons, what we're seeing was in the previous divisions, it was us and what was that team? Citadel. There we go. I knew it was with a C. It was us and Citadel rising together through the ranks and rarely having a team that then matched. And it was James Madison for a couple of seasons. But otherwise, we were leaving behind a lot of groups. And by the way, I've been keeping up with relegated teams and getting them. So like Sacred Heart, Morgan State, Army all went down this season. Elon went down this season. And you can see how they're kind of going straight towards the bottom. But where we've been rising with especially Citadel and James Madison for quite a while, we finally reached a tier on that last level where it wasn't just one good team and then everybody else. you had those same two good teams, and they didn't even get promoted. There was a few teams that were better than them, and now those few teams are up here, and I'm looking at the non-conference records. Yeah, that says a lot, but we're looking at Arkansas Little Rock joining them. We're looking at quite a few teams in the top 200 in the net, but right now nobody else in the top 100 besides myself. So are we just that slightly bit better than everybody else, and we have a larger second tier than other years, but really just a smaller top tier? For me, that would be nice if that's the outcome, but we'll see how that all transpires here in the next little bit. In the midst of progressing through the conference calendar, Trotty, the one who we were number one on his list, the JC guy, has a decision. We had progressed from warm to hot, so here's to hoping that it is our second announcement for us, and he has picked our school. So there you go. That gives us two, for the first time in a long time, two high-level, two 4-star recruits coming to our school. An A- and a B. Trotty's 63rd. Big-time JC transfer. Excellent inside shooting. Good defense. Good full-court press. A very good scorer. Big-time scorer. He's going to score a lot of points. And he's going to grab a lot of rebounds, too. Not terrible handling the ball. Not terrible stealing. Does have some weaknesses. But we're talking about somebody who performs at a level that we haven't seen. Darius Q? Was he this good? I don't know. But we're talking a big time transfer and just a sophomore. So we've got at least a couple years with him. At this point, we're 6 games into the conference schedule. 5-1. Good start so far. Maintaining a high net at 65th. Dartmouth, Cal State Fullerton, both looking good. Our loss was to Cal State Fullerton, by the way, on the road. So that was the one clearly difficult ask that we've had, is they've been very good so far. And, that was the thing, too, is we were looking at a number of teams in a certain position, and Cal State Fullerton did not appear to be one of those teams who have actually, pushed on up, and they're right there near the top of the league. Something very, very rare has occurred, and that is a home loss. We lost by 12 to Dartmouth. But then we went on the road to a very good Northern Kentucky, bounced back with a big win, 94-89, and then continued that with another road win at Delaware. We're at 10-2 in conference, and that is good enough to be right on top, equal with Cal State Fullerton. Right behind us at 9-3, Dartmouth. Our 2 losses on the road at Cal State Fullerton and at home to Dartmouth. So the 2 other teams that are right there with us at the top of the league, clearly a best 3 with 4 to go. Those 4 other contenders, one of them could still absolutely get in the mix. But for me, 3-game cushion, 4 to play, looking pretty likely that we are on our way to another automatic promotion. In fact, it kind of looks like all 3 of us are headed for that automatic promotion for this season. But let's go ahead and push on and make sure that that is the case. If we're losing the next couple, then we'll have something to watch out for. But otherwise, we should have this in the bag here relatively soon. Turns out our final 4 games were probably the easiest 4 on the calendar for us, so we easily won all of those. 3 of those were at home, all against lower ranked teams. That giving way for cruising to a 14-2 conference record. Definitely one of the best we've had. We've had multiple 13-3s. We've had some 12-4s. We haven't had too many 14-2s, so that was a very good season for us. 11-1 at home, though. I mean, it was a little shocking that we did pick up a home loss, but 11-4 on the road, a net right now of 37th. Cal State Fullerton and Dartmouth both falling off the pace a little bit, ending at 12-4. Cornell pulling clear as the 4th best at 10-6. a 4-game cushion over the 4th place team. It looks like we have some good teams, though. I mean, we really have some good teams. Top 20 all the way down to Northern Kentucky, almost the midway point of the conference. Presbyterian still manages 164. So I think we're starting to get into the higher divisions, and more we are seeing that even the worst teams are a lot better than some of the teams we've been seeing on their way down that ladder. North Carolina, Asheville, 285 is their net. They were 8-19 on the season, 7-20 for Northern Illinois. Not good, but we've seen way worse than that from pretty much every conference we've been in thus far. We've seen at least 1 or 2 or 3 teams outside of that top 300. Still not a great place to be, a lot of teams in that 200 range. But we're seeing more teams than ever in that 1 to 200 range. And I have a feeling as we keep climbing here that, more and more we're going to see a challenge put up by some opposition. And it's entirely possible that at some point here, we're going to see ourselves stall in one of the conferences for a second season and not just keep climbing year after year after year after year, as we are going to be offered, a challenge here and there. But with a 22-5 record, this is actually one of the best seasons we have had so far. If we can get that conference title, I think we're absolutely looking at one of our top 2 or 3 seasons that we've had. And with a net at 37, I think we're headed for the NCAA tournament regardless. And that's good. That's a very good sign. 2 first-round upsets with NC Greensboro and Presbyterian moving on. And we're going to get a 16-13 Presbyterian as the quarterfinal matchup. Let's go ahead and quick sim on past this one, as we should be comfortable, you would think. Wow. Much closer than you would expect, 79-74, but it is a win. Box score on that game, Houston had a Houston kind of day. 5 for 14 from the field, ton of missed shots, really hurting us. There's days where he scores, there's days where he doesn't. He was our leading scorer with 14 points, but he was also our leader in empty possessions or empty attempts. And for that, it really hurts us. McMillian only ended up playing 10 minutes. I don't know if that's because he had the 3 fouls and had to go to the bench very, very early. Never even had a field goal attempt. I didn't see anything about an injury. Seabrook's actually playing with a minor injury. He's got a dislocated finger, I think, something along those lines. Howell also in the final days of recovering from an injury for him, just a bruise. Both of them somewhat limited by it, but able to play through it. Cal State Fullerton upset by NC Greensboro, so they've had 2 upsets already. Delaware upsetting Dartmouth, so the 2 main contenders both out in the quarterfinals. This is good for my chances of a conference championship. UC Davis also upsetting Cornell, meaning the 4 highest seeds, we are the only one remaining, and we were 2 games clear of anybody else. It's looking good right now. It would be very, very, very disappointing if we cannot come away with a conference championship under these circumstances. We're looking at 15-14, 15-14, and 13-16 for the 3 teams that remain. Semifinal, 18-point blowout, 24-5 on the season now. Into the final. Delaware is the team we are going to play. You can see we are heavily favored in this one. 70% chance of winning. Matchups, the better of the matchup in 4 out of 5 positions, plus the bench. Statistically, our offense and defense are quite a bit better. They do shoot well from the field at 50%, though. +2 on assists, 2.5 even. +6 in rebounds. We're going to have a huge advantage there. 2.25 blocks. 2.25 steals. Better by 4.5 turnovers per per game, so dominating in most every department. Really, the only advantage they have is the field goal percentage. All right, folks, well, that is going to do it for this episode. Next up, obviously, will be the conference championship game, and then we will head into the NCAA tournament. I think win or lose in this conference championship, it doesn't matter who the opponent is, it is the conference championship game. So even if we lose, we're 24-6. That should be more than enough to qualify and have a decent, 12 or 13 seed, maybe an 11 seed for the tournament. Win, we're even better. Bump us up, maybe even one more seed with that conference championship to go with it. 25-5 entering the tournament would be pretty dang good. I would very much like to get that conference championship, as it's been a little while since we've claimed one. And obviously, as we're climbing that ladder, it's only going to get tougher and tougher to do so. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.